Baseball is dead.
Rest in peace.
What a turn of events. What's happening right now? What's going on? This is nuts.
There is not a single Brinks truck on the road. They are all backed up to players' houses. That's where the Brinks trucks are right now. Just absolutely unloading loot, Jared. This is wild. Absolutely wild. You were at the Bees game last night when the Tucker news breaks. I was breaking cards. I was opening cards with the good folks on eBay when the news broke. I lost my mind. I just, there were so many things running through my head. And I'll say, honestly, the first thing that popped into my head was, this is the signing that all at the same time, and I just tweeted this out a little while ago, this is the signing that all at the same time can make you feel like the lockout, 100% happening. The lockout, no possible way it could happen. And when business is this good, how do you think baseball, and we'll get to this, how do you think baseball could survive? Do we think baseball is now in a spot where it could survive a delay or a long cancellation, a truncation of the season, if you will? And like I said, we'll get to that. But the first deal here is the Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers. We're talking $60 million a year, my man. $60 million a year. And there's a lot that's going to go into this deal. Where he fits in the lineup. I mean, we can start with how many other teams in baseball would even be able to offer their fourth, maybe fifth best player this kind of money. This dude's going to hit fifth, right? I mean, that's just, that's insane to think about for starters. Something that I will absolutely go back to is the question I posed / the preparation I laid down, the foundation I laid down years ago. When I said, we are on the verge, we are knocking on the door of that $50 million a year player. And people were like, you are absolutely outside of your mind. Never is that going to, well, we weren't so far removed from what I think it was Miggy and Trout and Price.
It was Trout that prompted the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, but wasn't it Miggy just before him that extended or that signed
was
the
like
deal?
20 million. Like that was back when like we were at the point in baseball economics where it was kind of just like in the NBA where there's like a max deal. Like you're a superstar player, so you get the max deal. And the max deal was $20 million a year. It was like, all right, Miguel Cabrera, the top hitter, you are a $20 million a year player. Congratulations. Justin Verlander, you're the top pitcher in the sport. You get $20 million a year. And it's like, wow, that's a fuck ton of money. And that's the pinnacle. Like if you make $20 million, 10 years removed from that, that's when we started having the conversations about Mike Trout. He was still in his prime and we were having the GOAT status talk about Mike Trout. And it's like, man, like could this guy get $40 million? And less than 10 years after that, is when we start seeing Shohei Ohtani $70 million a year, Juan Soto getting $765 million in a contract, and now a player like Kyle Tucker, which, like, all due respect to Kyle Tucker, very good player, but to your point, Dallas, like, he's the best player on his own team.
Well, and this is think about this, and this is some perspective that I think we have to maintain here is. We're talking about a team that poses 3 MVPs within the first 4 hitters of their lineup. So that's a caveat that does need to be acknowledged because there's not many other teams that also have that, if any, right? So it's not like he's the 5th, because if Kyle Tucker goes anywhere else, is he the 5th best player on any other team? Probably not.
No. Yes, it's all relative and
yes.
You need to contextualize that like the Dodgers are an all-star team at this point. The highest that Kyle Tucker has finished for MVP was 5th, and that was in 2023. So he's not even like coming off that like, all right, 5th place finish, 3rd place finish. What's next year going to be? You're going to pay to find out what that next year is going to be.
Right.
It's been 2 years of no MVP votes, albeit all-star seasons, but no MVP votes, and that player just took $60 million a year to the bank. And do you remember the question that I asked you when our last episode when we talked about Kyle Tucker and how like, hey, he's probably going to sign before our episode on Monday, so we're going to have to do a bonus episode. I asked you, what does it tell you Like if he turns down 10 years and how whatever the AAV would have been from Toronto, if he turns down 10 years and that boatload of money for 4 years, and I think I said 50, it's now at 60, 50 million a year from the Mets or the Dodgers, what does that tell you if he takes that over the 10 years? And I'd love to know the answer. I would love to hear from the horse's mouth. Like, what is the thought process there?
Well, this is what the thought process is. And this is why I answered the way I did, is we're talking about whether or not the player looks at it and says, do I want to play for another 5 years on top of what I might be getting offered somewhere else? Especially if the money is enough for me to be okay with making that decision, because what is represented is probably an extended championship window. And it's not to say that the Blue Jays are not nearly as competitive as the Dodgers, and their window doesn't look similar. But we're talking about the Dodgers, and the way that they have behaved would tell any player that this team right now is poised to continue to try to bring in free agents, to continue to try to extend their championship window. And if I don't have to shoulder the load, like I said, if I don't have to be the guy, and I think Lou Maloney mentioned this, he's going to be the fourth or fifth player that the media comes to on any given night, if at all, when they want to know how things went or why things didn't go the way they should have. It's not going to be Kyle Tucker answering those questions for the most part. So you have the absolute sweet spot for this individual, which is prime championship window. I'm in my prime years. I can take advantage of this team wanting to be a absolute juggernaut. They're willing to spend the money on me to do so, and I'm more than willing to accept whatever sort of deferral rate that they're going to offer, simply because of what my window looks like, where I'm going to be, what I need to do as a player. I mean, this couldn't have been a better fit for Kyle Tucker if, when we go back to the hypothetical conversation we were having, if he indeed was looking at it how I thought he was looking at it, which is, give me the window, give me the team, and if the money is not so significant, because the decision he ultimately made is, do I want the other 5 years? Do I want an opportunity to maybe feel things out and see? Because with the opt-outs, Jared, is Kyle Tucker getting $60 million a year from anybody else?
No. And this is how I look at it, right? Not. Because you obviously saw the report about what the Mets offer was. Like, they were going to go 220 over 4. And I think if we saw that report, right, or that breaking news, Kyle Tucker to the Mets, 4 years, 220, we would have been like, oh, fuck, man. Like, the Mets really stepped up. He signed for even more than that. And is it not this idea that it would have just kept going until the Mets, I mean, that is what happened. I'm assuming it would have kept going until the Dodgers were like, all right, tell me what the best offer is. We'll just tack 20 million onto that. All right, they matched it. All right, 20, add 20 million to that. It feels like that's what happened here, right?
Well, that could be the case. But I think, and again, I said it yesterday, this to me speaks to the situations that are starkly different in Los Angeles and in New York. I just outlined how he is not going to be the one answering the questions. The spotlight is not going to be burning bright on him. Okay? In New York, whether you're the dude or not, you've got the New York media who will turn you into the scapegoat or turn you into the GOAT, depending on how you're performing. So he has that waiting for him there. But he's also joining a place that has notable turbulence within those rooms, within the walls. Does he want to be a part of that? And do the New York Mets, this is what I said about him going there, are the New York Mets a Kyle Tucker away from extending their championship window and being the other bully in the room? I don't believe they are. As good as Kyle Tucker is, I simply don't believe that they're just a Kyle Tucker away from being that team. And so that's the decision.
Just for context for everyone watching and listening, we're recording this maybe, let's call it 12 minutes after the Bo Bichette news broke.
Yeah.
So like we agreed to do like noon just for the Kyle Tucker news, but the Bo Bichette news hit right before we were going to come on here. So we're getting the Bo Bichette reports live now. Like, this is our live reaction to that. I don't want to do the Kyle Tucker Dodgers discussion any injustice, but I just so that you have this brought to your attention, Dallas, the Phillies offered Bo Bichette 7 years, $200 million.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get to that. Like, let that sit in the back of your brain for a second. But
See,
I want to resume the Tucker conversation because, all right. So last night I'm at the Bruins game and, obviously it's Boston. It's a Boston sporting event. So, Boston sports fans, to their credit, like they're big, baseball fans. Like they know it's not just we love the Sox. Like they love baseball. So
yeah, they know the game.
I'm sitting there watching the game, and I think there was like a stoppage in play. There was a penalty. They weren't playing. So I'm looking at my phone to kill time, and I see the breaking news come in. Breaking news. Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, fucking 4 years, 240. And I heard around me, because of the stoppage in play, there was nothing else happening, gasps. Like, I heard people being like, what? And I was like, are they reacting to this? And like, I turned back around and like, people are looking at me like, passion. And I was like there were audible gasps in the crowd at the same time because people were getting the alerts on their phone about this deal. And there was a what to my right, and then to my left there was a no fucking way. And I'm just like, dude, wow. Like, wow. And I needed a second to process because I don't know, I guess knowing that the Blue Jays were willing to go 10 years, my brain is like, oh, well, why wouldn't you take that? Like, why? But it's all based on the player. I mean, some guys don't want to go to Toronto at all. Some guys don't want to play for another 10 years. Like, but I don't know. All I can think about is, from my perspective, is if I had the opportunity to guarantee 10 years and probably a fucking boatload of money, whatever the AAV was, that seems like the obvious choice. So like, I know that I shouldn't be surprised. Maybe I'm an idiot, and I am an idiot, whatever, you can call me an idiot. I did not see this coming. I did not see this outcome coming.
Who did? Let's be honest about it. Who did? What we saw, what we knew could be looming in the shadows, was the Dodgers. Nobody, I think, gave anybody the firepower in their mind to fire a 6 for 240, or a 4 for 240 bullet. Nobody had anybody writing that kind of check.
Do you want to know why Tucker? I thought that it was not going to be the Dodgers? Because of how disinterested they were in Juan Soto. I was like, all right, they're not going to be the team that gives Juan Soto $13 million, but are they going to go like 6 or 8 for fucking 60 per? Like, I thought if they were going to be the creative, short-term, big AAV, like, all right, you're fielding these long offers from other teams that really want your services, but could the Dodgers come in and be like, all right, we'll give you fucking 70 times 8? They didn't do that for Juan Soto, so that's why I didn't have them being the team for Kyle Tucker. Like, I saw the Ken Rosenthal report, and he was, very clearly stated, don't sleep on the Dodgers here, because they could be one of those teams that does like the short-term big AAV type offer, and maybe Kyle Tucker is enticed by that. But again, when Toronto's floating 10 years, it's like, all right, yeah, cool. Like, you're the Dodgers. I get it. You have Shohei, you have like all the talent in the world and all this money, and you back-to-back World Series champions, and it's Hollywood. I get the draw of playing for the Dodgers, but if put in front of me a 4-year deal or a 10-year deal, like, it's not a discussion to me, but apparently it was to Kyle Tucker. I don't know.
But again, this just goes back to what boxes is Kyle Tucker looking to check, right? And who's to say, Jared, that he doesn't want to, and not that he's taking into consideration the impact that the back end of his contract is going to have on the franchise that signs him. It's not like he's trying to do, he's not sending Toronto a handwritten letter saying, what I want you to understand is I knew that things could probably be different at the back end of my deal. You would have a hard time moving that money. You would probably have to eat a lot of that money. And I would feel bad about that, because at the end of it, I'm not looking to go to Cincinnati, who might at that point in time be trying to make a push or whatever, and they need a veteran bat. I'm not doing that for you. So this is why I had to say no. This is like, he's not doing that. What he's doing is he's go ahead and book it, right? Here's a box to check. What would I say? As minor of a deal as it might be to him, but you're now fully vested in terms of the pension, right? You got your 10. That's done and over with. That's been done and over with. So from there, it just goes back to winning another championship. And what place do you as a player feel like you can perform your best and simultaneously give yourself the best opportunity because of your surroundings to win that championship? What pursuit do you think offers you the clearest pathway to the ring? And it's clearly Hollywood, because that's what we know, the World Series trophy. The road to it runs right through Hollywood. And the players have told you that. What's tough is to think that the Mets now have watched, I mean, they got Bo, but they've watched, and we said this the other day, right? They watched Edwin say, hey, no, I'm all good. I'm going to LA. Kyle Tucker said, I'm going to LA. Why? Why? We don't need to answer that. We know what the answer is. We know why. We know why. Now, here's what we got to think about with Kyle Tucker as well is the aging process and the productivity that we think we're going to get from Kyle Tucker. Because I mentioned it yesterday, right? This is a guy who 5-win player over the last since 2021, 22.
He was 4.7 and 4.6 the last 2 years, but
I mean, on average from that time.
Oh yeah, since 21.
Yeah. So that's the type of player you're getting. And there are some issues that you have to consider with Kyle Tucker in terms of how he's going to age. What does the health look like? Right? We know about the foul ball off the leg and it was a fracture of the shin or whatever it was. And whether or not that was treated the way that it should have been, I think we all have our opinions on that. I have my opinion on that. I believe there was probably some oversight. I believe some things probably got left either uncommunicated or miscommunicated, if you will. And Kyle Tucker bore the brunt of that. He played through an injury last year and was trying to come back. But then he had, what else did he have? Didn't he have like a calf strain or something?
I forget what it was.
I believe he had a calf strain. So whether or not those are signs that the player is susceptible to injury or maybe isn't going to age as gracefully as you would like, and if you're the player and you understand that about yourself, then that 4-year deal probably looks all the more enticing as opposed to spending the last 3 to 5 years of a deal hampered by nagging injury. You know, like you and I both love Josh Donaldson as much as anybody, but that dude had to grind through calf strain after calf strain after calf strain because the body just wasn't responding after a certain point. It was breaking down because that's what happens to ball players is you break down.
It was a calf strain.
It was a calf strain. So when you have a Kyle Tucker who, and there was an article that I was just getting through before we jumped on here that Eno Saris of The Athletic, love Eno, he mentioned, and I'm a big bat speed guy. Looking at Kyle Tucker right now, I mean, he is right smack dab in the middle in terms of average bat speed. And I think it's like 72.1. And when you think about him aging, how does that go? His ability to drive the baseball, his ability to get to certain pitches, his ability to continue to square up the baseball are these things that you have to factor in. Because what his presence now does is, I think I saw it allows Teoscar to move over to left. Kyle Tucker goes to right. Who's more serviceable as a defender than Teoscar is? You got Paz in center. So there's value for Kyle Tucker, but if the bat goes and he's not as valuable, I think made the comparison like he's not as valuable to a Mookie Betts type defensively and is in the same realm of bat speed, squared up rate. Well, now what type of player do you have? And that's something that you would have to consider when we're talking about his age 36, 37, 38 season, right? As opposed to 31, 32 when he's done, because he's got opt-outs as well.
Yeah, he does. I think as fascinating as the decision conversation is, I think the conversation that everyone's really having is about the Dodgers and the state of baseball, like the fallout from this.
Well, That's why I said about the like this deal. The first thing that came through my mind was, oh man, like, so what does this mean? Does this mean like 27's on, or does this mean 27 is definitively off? Like, what does this mean? Because if the two sides decide to dig in and decide that the cap floor conversation, along with, you have to remember the revenue split, that is a big deal. And we understand that because of what is happening with the regional stations, right? That's a large part of where teams get their money. That's how these teams split their money. They pool portions of that money, concessions, ticket sales, all the like. They put that money together, and that helps prop up the lower market teams. But we have just watched, I believe it was FanDuel, who has tried to restructure agreements with 6, 7, 8 different teams at this point that they had on their air. So the flag has been waved. The signal has been, the bat signal is up in the sky, morning, noon, and night. Shift is coming. Change is coming. What that looks like, we still don't know. Commissioner Manfred has talked about wanting to have the majority, if not all, of these broadcasts under the Major League Baseball umbrella.
Right.
So,
which will happen, I think.
It's almost, look, I said this when we started to see the draft get shortened and minor league teams get shaved off.
Go away.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the beginning of the power grab. This is the beginning of, I don't want to call it utilitarianism, but this is the beginning of owning everything. Absolutely everything. We're even watching it happen right now with minor league analytics and minor league data, right? How that has been controlled now. That's happening at the amateur level as well, Jared. They're making a move for that at the amateur level. So if you think you're going to get this or get that or get this or get that and stay ahead of the game, well, they're trying to put the squeeze on that as well. So the revenue split is also a major conversation point. But back to the point of these two sides are going to die on the hill of revenue split and salary cap and floor. Are we in for a long, hard, harsh, cold winter? Is that what we're in for?
Yes. I think the writing has been on the wall for a while. I think that this contract, I don't want to say it seals it, but it just further hammers home the fact that 2027 is going to be a difficult one. I still think at the end of the day, and again, maybe I'm naive, but I think both sides understand that, the money faucet is flowing with Major League Baseball, and fan interest is up, viewership is up. They can't kill the sport and go the whole year without playing Major League Baseball games. But this, I don't like, to me, like I hear all viewpoints. I don't think the game is broken. Because it's I don't know, like I grew up in the 90s. Like this is what the Yankees were doing. The Yankees had all the stars. They spent all the money. They got all the players. They won 3 straight World Series titles. And then we're actually going for a fucking 4th straight in 2001 and went to the World Series Game 7. So like, did people say baseball was broken back then and we have to change everything when the Yankees were doing it? It was kind of just like, fuck the Yankees. We hate them. They're like, it was fan conversation about it, but it's also like, I give props to Matt McCarthy. He's a radio host in Boston, and he said, whether you love the Dodgers or you hate the Dodgers, you're watching them. Like, go look at those World Series viewership numbers. Mm-hmm. Like you could say they're ruining baseball and this and that, but you will tune in to watch that empire topple over. Like when they have their 2001 World Series and Luis Gonzalez takes out Mariano Rivera in Game 7, it's like, listen, you tune in. You tune in to now watch the Dodgers because they have stars. You tune in to watch the Dodgers because you want to watch them lose. And that's why I kind of like thought about this episode a lot, is like people, I think it's going to be a popular episode because people want Dodger fans they probably tune in thinking that we're going to be crying about it. So it's like Dodger fans will enjoy like lapping up the tears of people that are like, oh, they can't keep getting away with this. But then also like there's a lot of angry baseball fans that want to hear their sentiments echoed by platforms like this. So I think where I fall and going back to my initial reaction last night, yes, like of course I read that and I'm like, what the fuck? Like they're in the National League. My favorite team is the Red Sox. Are the Red Sox going to get to the World Series in 2026? Probably not. So like, does it even really matter what the Dodgers are doing? But it's the baseball fan in me that it's not that I want competitive balance where you have 30 teams and they're all equally as talented. Like, I don't want that, like I think Coley called it baseball communism. Yeah, I don't want 30 teams that are all equally as talented. Of course, you're going to have the good teams and the bad teams, the middle of the pack teams. But I think where we are now entering with the Dodgers are like, there's good teams, bad teams, middle of the pack teams, and then the Dodgers are just up here. Like they're just so much better than everyone else. But again, I go back to what I said back in November after we concluded our discussion about the World Series. In 2024, we had a debate on this show about the demeanor of the Dodgers in the division series against the Padres. It looked like the Dodgers didn't even fucking care. It looked like the Padres were going to steamroll the Dodgers, and that was 2024. Like they were this close to like getting eliminated in 2024. And then in 2025, we've talked about the what ifs over and over again. They were 2 outs away. I mean, how many times can we talk about Miguel Rojas and IKF, scoring from third? Like they very well could have lost back-to-back World Series, and then all they would have had is 2020. And instead of, oh, the Dodgers, they can't keep getting away with this, all the spending, and they're just going to keep winning, we would be talking about how they're like the LOL Dodgers. Like, yeah, like they keep fucking spend all the money you want. You're never going to win the big one. Like we were this close from that being the dialogue. So I don't know. I get angry sometimes, but then I'm all like, there's alternate universes where this is just wildly different, like
well, that's why I kind of pointed to the phone and you started talking about, the fan sentiment. Well, the fan sentiment has never been louder and has never been more informed and has never been more up to date in real time. Right. And that's where fans, there he is.
Hey, Hollywood Havens.
Yeah, we're in line at Slinky Dog here at Hollywood Studios, getting ready.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna take the roller coaster game to the next level with my daughter, breaking out like Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, baby. This is their year.
Wow.
I feel it.
Wow, this is their year. Yeah, what was your reaction when you saw the news?
I think my initial reaction was laughing. It was laughter. My second one was, this feels like the missing piece for them, kind of puts them over the top.
Yeah.
I would say that. So I think my secondary reaction, obviously other than it makes them really good, is that I think the doom and gloom over this being a guarantee of a work stoppage is too much. I think it's too much. I don't think it guarantees that. But what I do think it does, I think it brings into the forefront the distinction between teams getting frustrated with their owners not spending and the very real, unique advantage that the Dodgers have with their TV contract, which is one of one in baseball. And I do think that the complaining about other owners works up and I'm right there with everybody. It works right up to a point, right? And then I think we also need to acknowledge that can be true, and the Dodgers having a completely unique, one-of-one, incredibly lucrative TV setup that was, set up for them over a decade ago, and that nobody else is able to set up that way or reap the rewards in the way that they do. That's $300 million that other teams don't actually have access to necessarily. And I think that's a part of the conversation. So teams can be frustrated, or players can be frustrated, fans can be frustrated, but with their ownership. But I also think there is something to the idea that there's a gluttony happening that I'm not sure. At some point, perception trumps reality in a way. And if this many people are frustrated about what's happening and why it's happening, I think it creates a toxic atmosphere that's not necessarily good for baseball.
Yeah, what I said, Jay Hay, was that it is crazy to think that this signing by Kyle Tucker and the Dodgers can give you the feeling that baseball is 100% headed for a lockout and baseball is in no way, shape, or form headed for a lockout all at the same time. To your point about this being like, this is such a big move that how do you make this move and not see the business continue? Because it's just been steady growth. So how does a move like this jeopardize the sport and whether or not it will continue in 2027 or continue on time, I should say?
I also wonder, to that point, like how much do other ownership groups really hate what the Dodgers are doing? And how much do they kind of like it? How much do they like it? It kind of, I think in a way it provides cover for a lot of teams because
absolves them.
They say, like, I've had friends that are Cubs fans message me, "Ooh, they just signed Alex Bregman," right? And they're like, $60 million a year is ridiculous for any player. Kyle Tucker's not worth that. And I think in a way it allows them, other ownership groups, to say, well, we could have never touched $60 million. We can't do this sort of contract. So don't even come at us with these sorts of complaints, right? And if the system is fixed or adjusted or whatever, I wonder if other ownership groups would open themselves up to avenues of criticism that they're maybe not anticipating or are anticipating and don't want to change. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, because what happens if you start to quote unquote level the playing field, now everybody has to come and play, right? Everybody better read the playbook. Everybody better be ready to have a strategy moving forward. You no longer get to stand idly by and go, well, we weren't going to be able to do that. We weren't going to be able to do that. So this is what we can do. Because once you level the playing field, now you have to come to play. You don't get to just sit back in the shadows and let the big dogs dominate the offseason. You have to bring your A game as well, each and every offseason, because of the fan voice. And that's what I was telling Jared is, he mentioned the Yankees being this juggernaut in the 90s and behaving in a similar fashion. I said, with the invention of social media and how loud and how informed fans are now, this is a completely different animal. You're no longer just having fans that understand how things are going. Fans are educated. I mean, we're watching YouTubers have a significant impact on our government, right? The fan bases today are just as informed as anybody out there with their own YouTube channel. So there's no hiding in the shadows anymore. You will be brought to justice one way or another, whether it's social media justice or by way of having these negotiations, through arbitration and bubble, whatever we're going to deal with here. But it's just a wild time right now, man. An absolutely wild time.
I do think, I wonder how, if the hopelessness that some fan bases feel is something I keep coming back to too, because one of the reactions I had last night was, it dawned on me that, I mean, you can quibble with this to a degree, but the Rockies play in the NL West. They don't have a single person in their starting 9 or in their 5-man rotation who would be a regular for another team in their division that they have to compete directly against. And I don't know, I didn't look it up. I'm not sure that I've ever seen a situation in baseball where a team in one division didn't have anybody who could even stack up on another team that they have to play every year and compete for their division. Obviously, we've had stratified divisions, the AL East being first and foremost when the Rays were dog shit and the Yankees and Red Sox were awesome. But you could find one player on those teams who could slot into the number 4 spot in their rotation. With the Dodgers and Rockies, you literally can't do that. Unless you're moving Mookie Betts off shortstop, or it's just crazy. So it's I don't know. That's more about the Rockies' own ineptitude than it is anything else. But that's the definition of hopeless. There's just no starting point here to even generate any enthusiasm. It's a tough spot. It
is. And I mean, I think, when when I was first trying to process this, and I tweeted this last night, I was like, I'm trying my hardest not to get angry at the Dodgers. But then people push back on that. They're like, no, you should be, because like, you know, like you can say like on one hand, the Dodgers they care more. So you should be mad at the other owners. And then, but like the rebuttal to that is like, well, the other owners can't keep up with this. Like realistically, like they can't keep up with this. So like, that's the issue. Where do you fall on that, Jay?
I do think that's an issue. And like part of me, I've never gotten mad at the Dodgers. I think I've just kind of like, I'm more and more recognizing the idea that the current setup is extremely, extremely frustrating for a large portion of the fans. And I think if I'm being candid, I think I'm more sympathetic to that than what were probably a lot of snarky reactions to Dodgers spending when we first started down this path and talking about it as a podcast. I think those are real concerns. But I also like, it's January, what is it? January 17th, January 18th?
16th.
There have been teams that have had the entire offseason to get shit done with Kyle Tucker. That it got to a point where the Dodgers were offering 4 and 240 with opt-outs after multiple seasons is in part because no one else stepped up to the plate and offered a contract that was in line, presumably, with what Kyle Tucker was expected to get. Like, did we hear any reports leading up to this about Kyle Tucker receiving offers of $300, $350, or $400 million? I didn't.
No.
That's what he was expected to get. We didn't hear the Phillies step up for that. We didn't hear the Yankees. We didn't hear the Mets. We didn't hear the Blue Jays. And so I think it's also fair to point at some of those teams and be like, yeah, Dodgers are operating on a different plane. You also still had windows to get this shit done. And that it fell into the Dodgers' lap in a lot of ways. And they were able to, you know, leverage the signing bonus, deferred money, double dip combo and like structure deals in a certain way that makes it extremely palatable to the player in a lot of ways. Well,
they didn't even defer a lot of money in this deal.
Right. They didn't even defer a lot of money in this deal.
No, it was only $30 million. It was half of what the signing bonus was, right? So yeah.
What it reminds me of, Jay, is when I first moved to Los Angeles and I was house hunting. And I'm showing up at these places and I know what kind of offer I can make. And I feel like I'm going to be competitive. And my offer is quite literally 2.5x sight unseen. And I'm like, hold on, what do you mean? Like, they don't even care what it looks like? They're not even like, no, buddy, they don't care. I'm here. I'm the buyer rep. Like, I'm going to go do this 3 more times today for this same person. They don't give a shit what any of it looks like. They're in. You're not. Beat it. And I'm like, well, fuck, how do I compete with that? Like so I understand what the other ownership groups probably feel like. And that's where, like, to an extent, you wonder at some point in time, does that have to get reeled in? Because if not, does it feel like baseball is growing that tree that is providing that shade and that shadow for the other ownership groups to hang out in? Because that's what's cool about the shade. Is it's very comfortable, but nothing grows there. So you got to figure something out.
So like there was the Mets pivoted to Bo Bichette, right? Which I'm sure you guys have gotten into at some point, but you choose where you spend your money, right? And you choose how you spend it. And it's not like the Bo Bichette pivot, like they're paying him $48 million a year, correct?
42.
Yes. That is objectively a higher average annual value than the vast majority of other teams could afford. And I think Bo Bichette is you guys might disagree. He seems like a much less natural fit for the Mets than Kyle Tucker would have been.
He's going to play third base.
Yeah, position-wise.
He's going to play third.
Skill-wise, everything. So, like, yeah, you paid one guy $40 million, the other guy cost $60 million, but the Mets went to what was it, $55 million for Kyle Tucker and ended up getting beat. I don't know, man. Like, to me, Bo Bichette's a nice pivot, but it's like such an awkward fit roster-wise that I would still be a little bit embittered if I was the Mets and had what I thought was a Kyle Tucker in place or at a very aggressive contract offer and didn't come up with him.
I think a Mets trade is coming. I think an infielder trade is coming on the Mets side, but they kind of have to say, hey, like the plan is for him to play third base, but I think ultimately they're going to move off someone to accommodate Bo at a more
Beatty,
favorable
right?
position.
Is what we've heard.
Cool. So that'd be interesting too if they end up moving somebody, because if you move Lindor, how are you getting better? And also if you're moving Lindor to slide Bichette to shortstop, how does that align with your defense?
I don't think it's Lindor.
Okay.
It's going to be like a Brett Beatty. Yeah.
That's what I said, Beatty.
So, and then who's where? So, okay. All right. I see. Yeah. Anyway, I'm about to lose phone battery and I know the audio is probably terrible. So, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm a huge fan.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, I know you're a very busy guy. I'm sure you have a lot of media requests after all the news. So thank you for choosing us.
Of course, I will always choose you guys first.
Enjoy sleeping on.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're very excited. I'll report back. Tell you how it goes.
Enjoy a nice churro for us.
Oh, dude, that's next stop right after this. We
I'm sure it is.
We cut off the churro to get in line. So we're gonna go back and eat some more. Love you guys. See you
Amazing.
soon.
Thank you. That's Justin Havens, formerly of ESPN's Baseball Tonight. One of the brightest baseball minds out there.
Can I just acknowledge something right now?
Yeah.
I'm no longer the absolute disheveled, furry, hairy guy on this podcast.
Yeah, he's looking like he's in like survivor mode right now.
Yeah, that was Forrest Gump at the end of the run. That's who that was.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been in isolation for some time. Yeah, it looks like. But yeah, I don't know. How do you want to put a bow on the no pun intended. How do you want to put a bow on the Kyle Tucker discussion?
You said it, I said it, everybody's acknowledged it. In a world where a team has been vilified for trying as hard as they possibly can, understanding that they have financial might that no other team does, the defending back-to-back World Series champions got better than virtually everybody else in an offseason where there were multiple big-ticket items for sale. Multiple. That is what it is. I mean, that's the icing on the cake. Like J.A. said, this could be the move that puts them over the hump.
Yeah. Like, can you think, like, during those 90s runs, like when they were winning back-to-back and then going for a fourth straight World Series title, like, who did they add during that run? Like Clemens? When was Clemens first
Roger,
year
that's
there?
what I was going to say. Was
Roger won back-to-back Cy Young Awards with Toronto and then went to the Yankees in 99. So they had already won 98.
Was
right?
it?
Does that sound right? Yeah, he won 97 and 98. First year with the Yankees was 99.
Why does I want to look it up before I throw the name out there, just because, I mean, I'm not afraid of sounding like an idiot. I sound like an idiot every day. But when, no, okay. I was going to say.
Yeah, and you know what, Dallas? I'll even give the Yankees fucking credit, right? Because during that run in the 90s, like their core was all homegrown. Like eventually, they paid them all. You know, they gave them tens of millions of dollars, but like Posada, Jeter, Pettit, fucking Mo, like those are all homegrown guys. Bernie.
What about shit, Coney?
What? David Cone, yeah.
Coney, he was the hired gun. That's what I've referred to him as, hired gun.
David Wells,
Boomer, yeah. Jimmy Key. El Duque.
Oh yeah, El Duque. I mean Giambi.
Yeah, that was tough. But it was I mean,
when did they get Giambi? 2000.
No. Was it 2000? No.
His first year with the Yankees was
I want to say, why am I thinking 02?
02.
Yeah, 02.
So
02. Yeah.
he never won one with the Yankees. That sucks.
No. Yeah, he wasn't a
tough.
part of that juggernaut run that you're talking about. But yeah, I think
I was
honestly,
watching old footage of the 2006 Yankees. Like that team, they didn't do shit, but like it was Posada, Giambi, Cano, Jeter, A-Rod, Damon, Matsui, Bobby Abreu.
Yeah, well,
and I'm forgetting who the other outfielder was, but like where the fuck is the easy out in that lineup? Jesus Christ.
no, it was girthy. It was girthy. That's why I always remember.
What outfielder am I missing from the 06 Yankees? Because he was probably nasty too. Oh, I guess Melky Cabrera.
Yeah,
But
the milkman.
The milkman. Bernie Williams was still on the team? He was not good. He was 37. Yes. He was not good by that point. Oh, fucking Gary Sheffield was on that team. That's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah, Sheffield.
Yeah.
I remember oh man. I remember I think it was 37 my rookie year.
And still hit 298 with an 806 OPS.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was my rookie year, and I remembered that we hadn't gone over the hitters like in our bullpen meeting. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is kind of weird. Like, wouldn't we talk about these guys? And then I'm getting up in the bullpen, and I remember asking Brad Fisher, hey, we go over these guys in the meeting? He said, kid, they're the fucking Yankees. You know who you got. And I was like, yep, fair point. fair
it's
point.
True. Like I could, the fact that I just could fucking rattle off the 2006 Yankees, and I should have been able to rattle off all nine. Like forgetting Sheffield is unforgivable. I love Sheffield. Anyways, I digress. Yeah. Baseball fans are pissed about the Kyle Tucker situation. What is that? Let me see. What does that lineup look like?
Which lineup?
The Dodgers. You got Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Kyle Tucker, Will Smith, Teoscar, Tommy Edman, Pages, and Haesung Kim.
There's a lot of power there. There's a lot of bat to ball there.
Yeah.
Max Muncy, if you want. Throw him in there.
Sure. Where are you putting him? Second base?
Who, Muntz?
Yeah.
Well, he played. Didn't he play? He played third, didn't he?
He can play any infield position.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's just going to move around. Do you even need me today?
Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, Tucker, Will Smith, Teoscar. Your top 6 hitters. Yeah. Good luck. Speaking of luck, the Underdog Fantasy app, you're going to want to download that shit. Because it is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and I can guarantee that. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats. NFL Sunday. Pats at 3 p.m. against the Houston Texans. Best defense in the playoffs, I'm being told.
That's I mean, it's the rumor.
That's the rumor.
That's the rumor.
Some people are saying that.
Pats
also,
you know what?
What sucks? The Pats are the number 2 seed. The Broncos are the 1 seed, and it all came down to not beating the Raiders. That's why they're the 2 seed instead of the 1 seed. They have the same record. They have the same record in conference. Like they had to go all the way down to like beating the Raiders.
Well, the autumn wind is a Raider, so that's what you have to deal with. You got to brace for wind.
So if the if the Broncos beat the Bills on Sunday, then the Pats have to go to Denver after they beat Houston.
I don't know if the Broncos got that in them.
You don't think so? You don't like Bo Nix?
I like Josh Allen.
He's got big hands, they say.
I like Josh Allen. He's an animal.
So
the
Billies are going to have to come to Foxborough.
Josh Allen's a large individual.
He is. I met him.
He can sling it. He can run it.
Mm-hmm.
He can manage it.
Sure can.
Yeah.
Make sure you sign up with the promo code Jared. That's JARED to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a special pick on Underdog. That's Underdog Fantasy promo code Jared. Okay, so yeah, we were just going to do a bonus pod on Kyle Tucker going to the Dodgers. So you got 50 minutes of that, but then Bo Bichette decided to sign with the Mets immediately, like right before we started to hit record. So he got the Bregman deal, the first one, the Red Sox one. He got the Bregman deal plus $2 million a year on top of that. So Bregman signed with the Red Sox for $3,120 with an opt-out after every year. And Bo Bichette gets $3 for $126.
$3 for $126.
No deferrals with an opt-out after both years. So he can become a free agent next offseason, which probably ill-advised given the circumstances. Or he can opt out after the lockout in 2027, and he can hit free agency. So he can go collect his money from the Mets and then become a free agent in 2 years instead of sticking around for 3 years, whatever. But this is obviously a pivot from losing out on Tucker. We heard the final offer from the Mets to Kyle Tucker was 4 years for $220. So they lost out on the player over $20 million. And I mean, it's not brilliant genius work, but we said on the last episode that the second that Tucker goes, I expect Bo to go.
Yeah. But
in fairness, not to suck our own dicks here, we didn't have the Mets being the team. I think it was like, all right, now he's going to go to the Phillies. Like and as we stated earlier in the show, the final offer from the Phillies was a very generous, very fair, probably something that I thought he would have signed for 7 years and $200 million.
Yeah.
Very surprised that wasn't the winning bid, given the team, given the length, given the dollars. I don't know, but yeah, $42 million a year. Pretty cool. Good for Bo. The lineup now for the Mets. You're going to go Lindor at short. You're going to go Simeon at second. You're going to go Juan Soto, Jorge Polanco, DA. Like where would you slot? Slot a Bo here? Would you have him hit second and then move Simeon down?
Probably, if that's something that they're entertaining. I mean, because we're seeing it.
Bo, Soto, Simeon fourth.
Look, ultimately, you want Juan Soto. You don't want Juan Soto standing on deck in the ninth inning, right?
No, you don't.
So you need to capitalize on his at-bats. He needs to get as many at-bats as possible, and we've watched teams make that adjustment and decide you will be hitting either first or second. So I don't know that moves Juan Soto out of that 2 spot. And, I mean, it gives them the roster flexibility of going right, left, right, or if they're okay with doubling up on the lefties against the righty with Lindor at the top, that's what his switch hitting capability brings to the table. Polanco also offers that, and it might be something where you see Bo maybe move around a little more. If you appreciate his ability to put the ball in play, you want guys on base that can do that. If there's another candidate better than him to do that at the top of the lineup or closer to the top of the lineup, then you want Bo taking advantage of base runners. But you also are walking that same that same line with Bo and trying to capitalize on his plate appearances. I need this guy hitting 4 times. I need it. It has to happen. So how do we maximize that? Because you'd hate to see him sitting down at the bottom of the lineup just because you think you're trying to be cute and give him RBI opportunities when those never materialize.
Yeah. I don't know. Like it's going to be somewhere in the top 4. I don't love going lefty out of the gate like Lindor, Soto, and then you go righty with Bo, Simeon. I don't know.
But I mean, Lindor's a switch hitter, so it gives you like they're not handcuffed there. They're not handcuffed.
Yeah. Yeah. Like who's your best? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, because Lindor,
I don't love Soto leading off. Like, that's the thing.
No, but that's what Lindor. So I think there is no better option at the top of the lineup than Lindor, to be honest.
So Lindor, Soto, Bo.
Yeah, I think isn't that how they have it penciled in?
I don't know. I didn't see anything about it, but I mean, it would have been too fucking soon to have that anywhere. Lindor, Soto, Bo, Semien.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But that's where, honestly, like, that's where you plug a Polanco in between Bo and Semien.
Yeah.
Because what
And
does
then
Semien give you the
Vientos.
chance to do? Semien, that's a 2-run homer waiting.
Yeah.
Or you'd like to think it is.
What do you think Brett Beatty's trade value is? What's that fetching you?
I mean, that'll be interesting to watch materialize. Like, who looks at Brett Beatty and says, this is the guy we need?
The Red Sox?
I mean, you think they got him ahead of Paredes?
No, I don't.
Ahead of Eugenio?
But if Houston doesn't want to play ball, then it's like the Red Sox. I think the Red Sox know we can't go into 2026 without adding an infielder here. So if the Astros want to ask for the moon, then they'll be like, all right, well, we'll fucking go get Brett Beatty.
I mean, I've got the Red Sox taking one of the two, either a Eugenio Suarez or Isaac Paredes. That's that.
But what,
I mean,
if they sign Eugenio Suarez, let's just say it's 2 for $40. Like that puts their payroll. I don't know that they're going to add that to the payroll. I mean, then maybe if you sign Suarez, but then you trade Duran, then you're talking a more reasonable, I guess, like salary there. Let me see. Let's see what the Red Sox have committed payroll wise to their roster.
Just ask yourself this: if they may, I mean, what are the Red Sox looking to give up or willing to give up for a Beatty? And
Probably
are the Mets
not a lot?
Right? And are the Mets interested in whatever it is the Red Sox might be coming to the table with?
Probably not.
So then that leaves us back at where we just started with, you got to pick who's left on the market, who can make an impact, who fits, what are you willing to part ways with if you don't want to go the free agent route?
They're at $265 million. So that would put them at 285.
285.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a very interesting pivot at the end of the day.
What, Suarez or Beatty?
A Beatty. Adding a Beatty.
Yeah, I feel like that's option 3. I think it goes Paredes, Suarez, Beatty.
Are the Mets done?
No, Framber's still out there.
That's where my head is at.
Yeah.
If the Mets want to truly, I don't know if it's a matter of salvaging it.
I think it's salvaging it.
But if you just locked up Bo, you got to go get an out-getter. You got to go get him.
You don't pay Bo $42 million a year to like potentially be. I mean, if there's no lockout, that's 1 year. It's the same thing. Like when the Red Sox gave Alex Bregman the same contract. Like you don't give Alex Bregman potentially, and it did end up being that way. 1 year, $40 million to not go for it in that season. Like that's a go for it kind of deal. You could have brought in some slapdick. You could have fucking traded for Alec Boehm and stuck him over at third base just to have a big league everyday ball player at third base. But you gave Alex Bregman $40 million a year for what could have ended up and did end up being $40 million. Like that's a go for it move when you go and get Bo for potentially 1 year at 42.
And that's why I said they can't be done. They at this
they're
point
not done.
Cannot be done. And I would even, I mean, what are we looking at Gallen in terms of his market?
We don't even hear that name.
And
like, when's the last
that,
time you heard that name? When it was falsely reported that he was signing with the Cubs?
Yeah, and And that's where I could see Uncle Stevie at this point, imagine like being evicted from your house and they're like, no, we own everything in here now. Like, this is all our shit. Like, everything in here. Like the lamp. And you're like, no, it's not. That fucking, you know what? That lamp is mine. And on the way out, you know what? That wall sconce, that thing is mine too. And so is the doormat. Give me this. This is all mine. I'm not saying it's that, but this could be a matter where Steve Cohen's like, you know what? No, fuck that. No Bregman, no Tucker. You know what? We'll take Bo. Give me Fromber. Give me fucking Gallen. You guys can kiss my ass. I've been hearing all this talk about. Oh, why
Framber
not?
And Gallen.
Why not?
Oh, why not? Yeah, sure. Fuck it.
Why not? They can figure something out in the rotation. They can make moves.
I'd like that. That's the only way
that might give them an opportunity, Jared, too. That might give them an opportunity to make a move and go get an outfielder.
You know where I think Gallen's going to go now that I'm talking about it? All right. Let me say this. If the Mets sign Framber and Gallen, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But I think one of the teams that missed out on Ranger Suarez is going to see like Framber is too expensive for me. So let's pivot to Zach Gallen. I could see Zach Gallen signing with the Orioles.
See, I almost wonder if
Baltimore knows they got to get somebody.
They got to get somebody, but I almost think that if the Mets, I don't know how much of a card this is to play, but hey, we're close to home. Zach, we're close to home. Come on back. Pitch in front of the hometown crowd or local crowd, if you will.
Where is he from?
Come on back. He's from Jersey.
Oh, is he really? Yeah. That would move the needle for me if they got Framber and Gallen.
Yeah. Do you think Steve Cohen is even slightly bothered? Like, or is he right now playing it off? Is he right now lighting the John Henry cigar after feeling like, I don't know, feeling some kind of way about firing off the "let me know when you see smoke" tweet or whatever it was? And
the Pope thing, yeah.
And so why would he? Is there anything to him saying, you know what? I'm not. I've heard the rumblings about how I'm supposed to be doing these things and how I'm not doing these things. Well, you know what? No, Mr. Stern, go get these dudes.
So
go get them.
I didn't want to give the Yankees credit yesterday when we reacted to Ranger on here, but it worked out for the Yankees when they lost out on Juan Soto and pivoted to signing 3 players with that money instead of just giving Soto all that money. Max Fried was excellent. Cody Bellinger is a player that they're still trying to get back, but signing him was a great decision. Who was the other? There was a third player that they signed. Who am I forgetting?
Devin Williams.
Devin Williams, yeah. Well, that didn't work out. I want to say that was a trade, though. I believe they signed a third player. I can't fucking think anymore. Whatever. Doesn't matter because it's really about Max Fried and Cody Bellinger. But yeah, so like in this situation where the Red Sox, they miss out on Alex Bregman, it's like, what if it works out where Ranger Suarez is awesome for you and that's a great pivot? What if the Mets, it's like you allocated $220 million to trying to lure Kyle Tucker to Queens? Well, that didn't work out. Here we go, Bo Bichette. Here we go, Framber Valdez. Here we go, Zach Gallen. Like, who would you rather have? One Kyle Tucker or Bo Bichette, Framber Valdez, and Zach Gallen? I think I would rather have the trio than the one player.
Yeah. That's, if you're talking about making your team better in areas that you need help, which is what we've always talked about, which is what I've talked about when grading out teams and how they've performed this offseason. That has been the scale that I have used. Is I'm not necessarily looking to identify the lead horse in this race. I'm looking to identify who needed to get better and did they address those areas, which I think is a way to an extent that people do evaluate your team's offseason, but a lot of shine gets given to the big ticket item and where that individual lands. But if the New York Mets miss out on a guy like Tucker and they end up landing Bo Bichette, Framber Valdez. I mean, we're talking about one of the marquee bats and the top option on the mound. So that's tough not to think you're getting better by addressing those two spots. And should you plug in another reinforcement on the mound with the likes of Zach Gallen, you got to feel really good about that.
Who's looking
from
to
there,
rebound too.
And from there, that's what I said. That's why I said now that gives them an opportunity to potentially entertain a move.
Trade Beatty. What does that get you?
Well, trade Beatty, or maybe it's an arm that you trade so you can go get an outfielder because they need help there.
Sure. So, I mean, you asked me, I think it was yesterday, are the Mets a Kyle Tucker away? No. But are they a Framber, a Bo, a Gallen, and whatever a Brett Beatty trade nets you? I mean, it definitely gets you a lot closer to where you want to be than just a one Kyle Tucker. Yeah.
I like that. That.
Sure.
Yep.
Like maybe Brett Beatty gets you a bullpen arm,
Yeah. I mean, I think McLean is off the table.
Yeah. Is he pitching in the WBC?
I don't think so.
That's a miss. Maybe he wasn't asked. I'm sure he would, but
well, I don't know if it's even a matter of being asked. He's young,
tenure,
and you want to make sure that you just want to. Well, you want to make sure from an organizational perspective.
You want to make sure you make the team.
Well, and I want to make sure this dude's healthy. So whether he's making the team or he's in AAA, I don't care where he lands. He needs to be healthy.
Sure. Should I call Clem to close out the show?
I was just going to say, I feel like we've
never called him for anything good.
Right. And this is an opportunity.
Yeah. You're right.
He might even say so.
Right.
Oh, good to hear you call me now.
Well now. This is nice.
See?
Hey, Rocket, how we doing,
I
man?
nailed it. Nailed that reaction. Yeah.
I just said,
don't now you can never say I never called you for something good.
You know what? I can't blame you. I'll blame the Mets because they weren't giving you anything good to call me about, right?
They sure weren't. So we were just having this discussion. We've pretty much done our full Bo reaction. And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised where the conversation went because I when we were talking about Kyle Tucker on yesterday, Dallas was like, do you think that the Mets are a Kyle Tucker away from getting where they need to be? And I was like, no, I don't think so. And I compared the Mets situation to the Yankee situation last winter when they missed out on Juan Soto, but then they took that money and they spent it on Max Fried and Cody Bellinger and yada, yada, the list goes on, Devin Williams. So with the Mets situation now, you miss out on Kyle Tucker, quote unquote, and you immediately pivot to Bo Bichette. You gave him the Bregman contract, which was opt-outs after every year, $42 million a year. And Framber Valdez is still out there. Zach Gallen is still out there. And I know that they're saying that Bo is going to play third base, but they could absolutely trade a Brett Beatty and add a bullpen arm or what have you, maybe address the outfield with a Brett Beatty trade. So there's a lot of moves. It's not just like, all right, we got Bo instead of Tucker. That was our pivot and we're going to call it a winter. I still think that the Mets can make a lot of moves from here. What's the Mets perspective on all that?
Well, you are talking to the president of the Brett Beatty fan club, I'll have you know.
Okay.
So I will say that one hurts, but
Sorry.
I also completely understand. But listen, I can't tell you Brett Beatty's going to hit 20 home runs next year. I can't tell you he's going to bat over 200 next year, or he might hit 300. Like, I don't know what to get from him or Vientos. That's kind of why we're in this situation where we are not a contender, but not a rebuilding team. There's a lot of ways it can go. And I think the Bo Bichette signing was pretty much the biggest example of that because I don't know one Met fan who even said the word Bo Bichette this offseason.
No.
So this came out of the blue. That's a great call about the Yankees, pivot last year. I didn't even think about that, but it does feel like Steve's like, listen, this money's been earmarked for the Mets. Just spend it, David, and we'll figure out where we go from there. Out of every position, on the diamond, I would say middle infield was the last place we needed because we have two guys who are pretty much stuck in their positions with our unofficial captain and the guy we traded Brandon Nimmo for up the middle. Mm-hmm. And we have like 17 minor leaguers who are ready to come into the big league in the next year or two. So it did feel kind of weird that we got another middle infielder, whether he goes to third, first, whatever. I also, I think we needed another right-hand bat at some point. I was saying that more so when Tucker was, being rumored, but I didn't like how we were starting to get a little lefty heavy potentially. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of ways it can go. You move Beatty. The thing is though, it also could be a 1 year Bo Bichette experience, right? Is that they opt out after one or is it after two? I think it's after
both.
1 and 2.
It's 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like it. It also keeps him away from the Phillies. Let's be honest. Baseball's a spiteful sport. I'm happy to keep him out of Philly, not having to deal with him. I don't have Edwin Diaz to strike him out anymore. So I need to keep him out of Philly if that helps. So he hits for average, which is just kind of nice to, I know on base percentage, how important that is. Sometimes it's just nice to have a guy who just gets the ball and play, So I'm happy about that as well. And has a cool name. Nice flow. Yeah. So it's what is there not to like? Actually, don't tell me what there is not to like. I'm sure that call will be in 3 months from now. You'll tell me, you'll be calling me about Bo Bichette.
Well, but I love
I'm
Bo.
Excited.
I love Bo. I've been a Bo fan for a long time. He did the rocket, paper, scissors thing back during COVID. He was one of those guys. So I had his number from that, and I texted him the other day. I was like, please come save my baseball team. No answer, which I respect. Yeah, so he had no interest in coming to the Red Sox. But I like the Mets as a fit. How do you like the lineup being ordered, at least for because the bottom half of the lineup is kind of a barren wasteland, but at least for the top half of the batting order, what do you think that looks like now?
Let's see. So we got Lindor. I haven't even thought about this. Lindor. We have Bo. So Lindor's a switch hitter, but he just hits better lefty. So I have to take that into account. I love Polanco. Is good from both sides, but Lindor, Bo is a righty. Soto. I mean, it just feels like we just need that big old Pete. I love that big meatball. It was nice to have that big 35 home run bat there, and it played 160 games. It does feel like we need a little something. Again, is Vientos going to become that guy? I'm not betting my life on it. And then you start going down, and it does get a little sketchy. But at some point, it's all right, Vientos or Beatty or Alvarez has to become one of them has to become the guy we thought they might be. And if that's the case, it does kind of put things together a little bit. It's if you look at the outfield too, it's Soto, obviously, all world. And then it's they get Carson Bench, the minor leaguer, might be coming up, and you don't know what you're going to get from a guy who, didn't play a lot in AAA and was hurt in the beginning, so his numbers weren't great. And then Tyrone Taylor, loved the glove, but it's if you're losing Pete and Nimmo's consistency, and then you have Taylor in there with a bat, it just feels very, very scary right now. So scared, apprehensive, I believe. That's a nice word, right? That's a nice SAT word for you. I'm a little apprehensive right now, but I also do believe unless the Dodgers swoop in and just outspend us for everybody, it's kind of nice to know Uncle Stevie is spending. David Stearns isn't, Sleepy Stearns. Steve Cohen doesn't just care about his casino. We are we got a little bit of a jolt right now, and you can start, listen, we're Mets fans. We talked ourselves into a hell of a lot worse rosters than this. John Mayberry Jr. batting fourth, batting cleanup. So they're giving us a little bit of ammunition to roll with. But yeah, we need some arms, we need some bullpen, all that kind of stuff.
This is exciting, Clem. Are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Breaking news.
We got breaking news.
Oh my God.
We got Kyle Tucker last night. We got Bo Bichette before we hit record. Breaking news from Bob Nightingale. The Phillies have reached an agreement on a 3-year, $45 million contract with JT Realmuto. He's back. He's back in Philly. So, I mean, we were only going to do a bonus Kyle Tucker pod. Then Bo Bichette signs right before JT Realmuto signs during the show. So, Clem, your thoughts on JT Realmuto coming back to the Phils?
You doing that sound with me on the phone in the state that I'm in, the apprehensive state I just told you about, I'm the JT Realmuto gift. I'm just looking at the mound, shaking my head right now. How could you do that to me, Rocket?
Listen,
who else?
It's breaking news. This is not a Mets show. This is a national baseball show. We got to hit the breaking news when there's breaking news. You just happen to be here.
I mean, broken news. That's JT Realmuto news. It's broken news. That guy is old news. I don't need to have that sound for JT Realmuto. All right, we're going to do every arbitration hearing. We're going to start using the horns for that. We got to save the horns for special stuff.
I mean, even if you weren't here, that is horns. That is horns breaking news. Because I think that there was a report 10 minutes ago. It's like, Realmuto is like close to making a decision. Then bang.
Well,
that's pretty much what happened with Tucker last night. It was like Tucker's close to making a decision. Breaking news. He's going to the fucking Dodgers.
I said it yesterday that the offer was still out there for JT. We haven't heard anything about it, but the offer was still out there. Clem, while we have you, I'm the one who kind of posed, hey, why should the Mets stop here? I used the analogy. It's almost like, if you were to get evicted or kicked out of your apartment and you're just grabbing shit on the way out, they tell you, we own everything in here now. And you're like, no, you don't. That lamp is mine. That wall sconce is mine. And this rug here, this is mine too. And you're just walking out with all this stuff in your arms because you're not going to leave empty handed. Damn it. It's not going to happen. Uncle Stevie just went and got Bo. That's why I posed, go get Fromber, go get Zach Gallen, make a move. If they made a move, would you want to see it be somebody in the bullpen, or would you want to see a bat added? Because I believe they're in need of a bat, just like you, I think. But I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I'm with you. And like my theory, and I'm sure you guys talk about this a bunch too. I feel like with the Mets, at least their strategy right now is like, let's not go long term, because this CBA, if it's ever agreed to, if they don't kill the sport, if baseball does become dead at some point, I feel like they're because if you look at the NBA, a lot of these teams didn't prepare for the aprons, and the aprons came. So if there's something that is prohibitive, Stearns wants to be able to compete in 3 years. And if whatever the rules are stops that from happening because he signed Pete to a 5-year deal or someone to a 7-year deal, I do think they're being smart. But yeah, if you're doing these kind of Bo Bichette short-term opt-outs, whatever it may be, for 2 years, sign me up. Like you said, just spend all the money. Who cares? Just let it fly. Again, the Dodgers could go 162-0. I don't care. We got to beat them either 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7. And the Dodgers, last year's Dodgers were unstoppable. They could have lost Game 7 13,000 times. We all watched Game 7. They could have lost the World Series in 6. So, in terms of what I'd like, I'd rather make a move for either a starting arm or a bat. Just because I'm a guy, it's like you have your bullpen set. We have guys in the minors that they're going to come up. I always like giving those guys a little bit of, give guys with live arms, throw them in the bullpen to start maybe if you don't have room for them in the rotation. I think that's one of those good problems to have. So I don't like spending resources, whether it's money or, trade assets for a bullpen arm, especially once you kind of have a semblance of a bullpen like we do. But bat or, again, I need first base settled at some point and probably center. You know what? I love Tyrone Taylor. I'm just a Tyrone Taylor guy. Start him in center. Who cares? He'll take care of. I don't need a bullpen if I have Tyrone Taylor just sucking up any balls that go to the wall. So, give me a starting arm, and I can feel good.
And you're maybe it's not going to be his year in 2026, but there will come a day where you're a Carson Bench guy.
I'm already Carson. I have to become that's like step 3 of like talking yourself into the Mets this season is you have to be a Carson Bench guy. It's like it's necessary. So 100% a Carson Bench guy. I'm excited about him. And again,
go ahead.
No, I was just saying, you've done this. We talk ourselves into all these guys blindly. So Carson Bench, I don't think I've ever actually seen you swing a bat. 20 home runs is on the table this year if everything breaks right.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Carson Bench was one of my guys at the draft combine. I can't remember what year. What year did he get drafted? 24?
Yeah.
Rocket, I had to look up if he's lefty or righty the other day. So don't be asking me what year he got drafted. He's crazy.
Yeah, he
24.
I'll be hands up, honest. Like there's times you get a prospect, you're like, oh, he's white. Didn't know he's white. Oh, he's black. Like, you don't know. I don't know if he's lefty, righty. If he has one arm or not. I don't know. The numbers look how I know they look on Fangraphs, and then one day they just show up on my TV screen and they're my favorite player until they're not.
Yep. Yeah, he was 24 draft.
24? Okay.
Yeah. Good kid. Rooting for him hard. Clem, do you have any other final thoughts on Bo Bichette to the Mets?
I'd like to do this again one day. That's what I'd like to think.
Trust me, I'm always looking for reasons to call you with positivity, Clem. You know that.
I like to think I'm a positive guy, and Rock, I like to think of you as a positive guy. So it's nice when two positive guys can come together and make some positivity in this crazy world we live in.
I agree. I agree. That's a beautiful way to end it. That's Clem, the Clem Report on Twitter. You Gotta Believe is the podcast. If you are going to listen to any Mets commentary, I suggest you go there because Mets fans fucking hate this show. They're like, all you guys do is talk shit about the Mets. And I'm like, well, if you have something positive to say, then I will call Clem and we'll say it. Like, there just hasn't been much positive things to say about the Mets so far. So now that there is, happy to have the conversation, Clem.
I'm going to lead down this note, Rocket. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Give me Duran right now. I need an outfielder. Bye.
Bye. I genuinely hope I get to call Clem again before opening day.
Yeah, I wanted Clem to enjoy this, but we have to remember that defensively, the way they line up, there is a lot of question marks. There is still a lot of question marks.
Still time to figure it out.
They're
very similar to the Red Sox, where it's like we have like a lot of bodies. I just don't know that it all fits.
Well,
properly.
I mean, the Mets might have guys that are actually interested in playing some of the positions that they may be asked to play.
Oh,
so I think that's probably a difference maker.
A cheap shot?
Well, no, that's just reality. That's just a fact. But they have Polanco there, who is penciled in at first base. Polanco has never played first base, but that's
wouldn't Vientos be first base?
Right, but you just heard what Clem said.
I got to figure Vientos is your first baseman and Polanco is your DH.
Polanco is just a pure DH from here on out.
At this point. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. Dallas, any final thoughts? JT Realmuto back to the Phillies, Kyle Tucker to the Dodgers, Bo Bichette to the Mets.
Yeah, I mean, I would also...
Pod. This is a full pod, by the way. You got a fucking free full pod on a Friday.
Yeah, I would also wonder if the Phillies are not done here and if the Phillies themselves couldn't make a run at some of the help on the mound that we've talked about.
Yeah, because what's the case with like a Zach Wheeler? We don't know.
Right, and that's why I say the JT, like, did you miss out on Bo? Okay, but is JT Realmuto the pivot? I don't believe that's the case. No. I believe this deal was going to get done one way or the other. And I think, honestly, that it was a matter of JT waiting it out and saying, look, I know you guys are in the heat of it right now. I know you're battling it out for maybe help in other places, which is fine. But there's not another me out there who brings to the table what I do in terms of familiarity and what you can bank on from a production standpoint. And so I'll let you guys battle that out. And then I know you'll come revisit. And that took about 10 minutes. So it's not a pivot for me. I think there's still work to be done for the Phils.
Yeah, that was kind of like we know we got this, so let's focus on what we need to focus on first.
And from both sides. Sides.
Yeah, he's chilling.
Yeah.
All right. If anything else crazy happens this weekend, we can hop back on. But you got basically a full episode as a bonus pod with 3 breaking news stories happening in less than 24 hours. We even got a special guest appearance from Justin Havens, which was big. We had to pay for that. We usually don't pay for guests, but we did have to pay for that.
Jay currently puking after Slinky Dog.
Yeah, he did say that. Yeah, that's not something. Jay's not afraid to admit things that he shouldn't admit. Like when he sneezed and like broke his rib cage a few years ago. He's willing to put himself out there and be vulnerable, which I do appreciate about him a lot.
Yeah, fair to say he is he might be, I'm not quite sure how old he is, like late 30s. But it feels like he's playing in like his age 47 season right now.
Yeah. He's the sad veteran where it's like, oh man, that much tape. Like you're taping. Yeah. What are you taping up over there? He's just
Charlie huffing his way through this.
Yeah. Which I respect.
Yeah, absolutely. He's aware.
All right. If nothing else happens, we'll see you guys on Monday. And if not, then we'll be right back here with more reaction to any breaking news in Major League Baseball. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Wow.